Are you a fearful avoidant attachment style who experiences feeling really triggered at times in relationships? And maybe if you take an honest look, realize that those really intense triggers and feelings are actually pushing people away in your life in really big ways. Maybe even people you really love and want to have thriving relationships with. Well, if this is you or something that you're experiencing or even have experienced and you want to understand a little bit more about what's going on, this video is here for you today. And in today's video, we're actually going to talk about why those triggers take place, but how to really solve for them. And this is part two of an earlier video that I did yesterday that came out that's all about the triggering event itself, how your body and mind is reacting, what's actually taking place. You don't have to start at that video. You can jump right in here today if you prefer. But I do think it would be beneficial if you are interested in actually just understanding what's happening in your mind and body so that you can create a little bit more distance from that trigger first before going into doing the work here today that we'll do in an exercise that I'm going to take you through. It can give you some really helpful context to realize this isn't about you being a bad person or being weak to your triggers or anything like that. It's about you carrying a lot of earlier pain, and your body and brain are trying to protect you in really profound ways and are just doing their job. But if you're also sitting here going, I'm done with feeling this pain, I'm tired of feeling so hurt in relationships or angry or afraid, then today we're going to talk about how to unravel that so that you can reconnect to yourself and create healthier relationship patterns and dynamics going forward. So first and foremost, in the part one of this video, we talked about this acronym called BTEA that I'm just going to review really briefly here. BTEA is one of the channels of ways that we get triggered, okay? And B stands for beliefs, T for thoughts, E for emotions, A for actions. This isn't the only pathway that gets followed when we feel triggered. For example, you can have unmet needs that trigger emotional output that then cause you to have certain actions. But BTEA means we have pre-existing beliefs. And when we get triggered, we're not just experiencing what's happening in front of us in the moment, we're experiencing the moment in front of us combined with past events that our subconscious mind has stored. So, for example, I shared an example about how I used to really feel trapped when I was fearful avoidant. And that was one of many triggering events I would feel. But when somebody would do something like say, oh, you have to do this way, or you have to do this thing right now, I wasn't just experiencing maybe the unmet need of having flexibility in the moment. I was experiencing this association that I would make, right? My conscious mind would go, oh, when this feels, trapping. And your subconscious mind is like this huge warehouse, and it opens all of its filing cabinets in the warehouse and says, what are all the times we felt trapped before? And it floods all of that information to the surface. And from that, you're not just experiencing the moment in front of you, you're experiencing the moment in front of you combined with all this previously stored emotion of all the times you felt trapped, or many, many of the times that you felt trapped. And that same thing goes for any time we felt abandoned or betrayed or unworthy or unloved or, whatever kind of meaning we gave. So when we have painful experiences in the past, we store them and then they show up when they are catalyzed in the present or future, right? So what that means is that when you have an experience now of feeling that way, you're experiencing the emotion in front of you combined with all the previously stored emotion from the past. That belief leads to this offshoot of thoughts. I like to think of a belief as a tree trunk. This is our BTEA as a tree trunk. And the T of BTEA is all of the tree branches, all the thought patterns that follow it. And we may think, let's say that it's a trapped core belief, right? I might go, let's say in my thinking, when I feel trapped, like that belief is activated, I might go, oh my gosh, this person's trying to control me. They're trying to decide what I do. This isn't okay. I need my freedom, right? So I'll have all these thoughts that shoot off of that core belief being triggered. And then I will feel frustrated, angry, hurt, betrayed, whatever it might be, the emotions for E, BTE. And those emotions are made up of neurochemical reactions that affect my body and my physiology. And then neuroscience has proven for A of BTEA, and then we're going to go into actually how to recondition some of these things here. Neuroscience has proven every action that we take is actually based on our emotional state. We're just quick to rationalize through logic after the fact. So people who are like, no, I'm really logical and rational. Yeah, you're still making emotionally based decisions at the tipping point, but you just rationalize the emotionally based decisions after, right? So this is the output, right? This isn't, we're not going to go into talking what we talked about in part one, which is all the things that happen in your body and the amygdala and the HPA axis and how your neurochemistry is affected. That's like for part one, if you're interested in more of that technical stuff. In this part, I really want to talk about like what you can do. So what I want to take you through is first, what are yours? Okay. What is your BTEA? What are the things that you are feeling and affected by? So I want you to source one if you haven't already from part one of this video. So let's do one example here together, and then we're going to really dive into the reconditioning part. So let's say that you have this core wound, I will be betrayed. And maybe that's because you have a lot of history of feeling like people around you weren't being honest, or there was a lot of conflicting information or incongruency, or you're told different things by different people in your upbringing growing up. And so maybe you had these betrayal core wounds, or maybe instead you saw betrayal happen in your family system or dynamic. And so you stored that like, okay, people betray each other. So let's pretend you have the B, the belief I will be betrayed. Sub in yours here could be I'm abandoned, I'm trapped, I feel unworthy, not good enough, unloved, um, shameful or defective, powerless, helpless to rely on others. It can be any of these things, but those are some major fearful avoidant core wounds. How do you start thinking about yourself and other people when this core wound is activated? Okay. Do you start thinking that, like, I know for me, when I had a big betrayal core wound, I would think, like, wait, they told a different story last time, or I would notice little tiny changes in people's behaviors. And so I would be like, whoa, this didn't add up. Like there's an incongruency. And now I would think, I can't trust them. What else have they lied about? Why are they lying to me? What's really going on here? And I would go into this suspicious line of thinking, right? So belief, betrayal. T, my thoughts would be like in this suspicious trajectory of thought. And then I would start feeling insecure, maybe a little hurt, maybe a little anxious or worried, right? Those would be my emotions for E. And then this is a really important part. How would I then act? Well, what I would do at the time, quite honestly, is I would either try to set somebody up to catch if they were lying, which I'm not like super happy to admit, but it's the truth. And that was how I coped, right? Like growing up, if I saw things that didn't seem to add up, I would try to test things, right? So that's exactly what I would do as an adult in relationships when I was still fearful avoidant. And other things I would do is I would sometimes shut down or push people away. And I had a very deactivating response when I would feel betrayed. I'd really like shut down or test and then shut down or things like that. So, what are yours? Okay. And then I really want to talk about how we can actually set these to rest, because if you've experienced this, and if you're fearful of avoidant, you probably have lots of these. It is such an uncomfortable thing. And honestly, if you haven't done the work on these things yet, you probably don't even realize just how uncomfortable this is. Like, as somebody who lived in this and had so many core wounds and so many different examples of BTEA, like abandoned, and then I would have thoughts and emotions and actions that follow, or unworthy thoughts, emotions, and actions that follow, all these things. It's exhausting. Like it is seriously exhausting. So you won't even know how exhausting it is until you come out the other side and you're like, whoa, I spent so much of my mental, emotional real estate, like in a state of coping, right? From all these triggers and wounds that were coming up all the time. So um, how do we actually recondition these things? If you're sick and tired of them, if you don't want to feel like this, if you're somebody who sits here right now and can recognize how many ways that these wounds are actually sabotaging your relationships, causing you to push people away or shut down or cling too tight in some cases, then we're going to talk about how to actually get rid of these once and for all. So the first thing you want to understand is these are not conscious. Okay. Your conscious mind is responsible for roughly 3 to 5% of all of your beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and actions. Your subconscious mind is responsible for roughly 95 to 97%. And so what happens here is in this subconscious space, we are not choosing. Okay. These are habits. These are our programs that run. In other words, you're not waking up saying, oh, today I'm going to tell myself the belief and have all the thoughts and emotions and actions that follow about how I'm not good enough all day. And I'm going to see if I say that to myself 300 times today, how I feel, right? Like we're not choosing that. These are impulses in a sense. They're these we have a catalyst for an event, the trigger comes up, And these are automatic. Okay. We're not choosing consciously. So we have to tackle the problem at the subconscious mind. Quite honestly, one of my biggest bones to pick when it comes to a lot of the Western sort of system we have to deal with things is a lot of Western tools are very much designed to target the conscious mind, which is like not what's running the show. The subconscious mind in our lives is what runs the show. It's why we repeat patterns over and over again. So we have to talk to the subconscious if we want to recondition these things. And we also have to understand a little bit about neuroplasticity. So the subconscious mind, okay, gets programmed or wired. Okay, we can think of this from a neuroplasticity point of view. We fire and wire neural pathways through repetition and emotion. So if you've had the experience of, having lots of repetitive times you felt betrayed, then you have a repetition and emotion that fires and wires this I am betrayed core wound. I will always be betrayed core wound. And so then we truly believe that because that's how we've been conditioned by our experiences and environment. So when we want to rewire this, we have to feed our subconscious mind with new information using repetition and emotion. Now, there's a few key points. I'm going to give you a 3-step exercise here. Okay. Key point number 1 is that your subconscious mind does not speak language. Okay. I'm going to give you an example of this. I want you to close your eyes for just a moment if you can. Or if you're driving or something while you're listening to this, then you can just think in your mind's eye for a second. And whatever you do, I want to make sure that you do not think of the pink elephant. And I want to ask you, did an image flash in your mind of the pink elephant? Probably. And that's because our conscious mind can understand do not, but our subconscious mind speaks in emotions and images. This is also a big part of the reason I'm not a big fan of affirmations, because when we just try to affirm our way out of things, let's say we're trying to get rid of this core belief in our BTEA here, I'm not good enough. If we just say I'm good enough, I'm good enough, I'm good enough, you're not giving any emotion or imagery to your subconscious mind, which is where the idea that you're not good enough actually exists. And so now you instead locked into this dynamic of trying to outwill your subconscious mind so that you can feel good enough by talking to your conscious mind. It actually just doesn't make any sense. So we need to find the opposite information to fire and wire new neural pathways. I'm going to make this easy in 1 second here. I'm just giving you the backstory. To create new neural pathways so that you have a new idea about how you actually are good enough to achieve your goals or your dreams, or the opposite of whatever your wound is. If it's I will be betrayed, instead you can say it's possible to have loyalty. If it's I will be abandoned, it's possible to have connected relationships that last. I'm not good enough, I am good enough. I'm unworthy, I am worthy, right? Like it's you. So that's step 1. Okay. Step 1, what is the B that you're working on here today? The core wound, or core belief, they're the same thing. And what is its opposite? Okay. And if you're not sure, you can just look up antonyms on the internet of that wound or idea. But it should be pretty easy to find usually, like unloved, loved, right? So pick that. Step 2, we need to speak to our subconscious mind. Okay. So step 2 is we need emotions and images of how we are good enough. Okay. We need emotions and images to support the new idea. Now, what's interesting is that emotions and images, all memories are just the container of emotions and imagery. So if you think of your favorite childhood memory, let's say you remember yourself playing on the playground, you would see the images of the slide in your memory, and you would actually, as you tell the story of the memory, probably smile or laugh, or your body language would change. So memories have the power to speak to our subconscious mind. Now, if you remember what I said earlier, and again, this is just a 3-step exercise. I'm really explaining each step, but I'm going to summarize for you in a moment. So it's going to feel really simple. When you are in this place of trying to speak to your subconscious mind, memory has the power to speak to our subconscious because memory contains images and emotions, remember, which is the language of the subconscious. Conscious speaks language, it heard the do not. Subconscious speaks emotions and imagery. You saw the image of the pink elephant. So, step 1, to review, find your core belief from your BTEA and its opposite. Step 2, we need 10 memories, okay, because memories are the container of emotions and imagery, 10 memories to support the new idea. Why do we need 10? Because we need repetition to actually fire and wire new neural pathways and create those new neural networks. So 10 times, for example, that you felt good enough. They do not have to be big. They can be small. They can be like, I was a really good friend yesterday, or I showed up well as a parent yesterday, or in my partnership, I was there for my partner yesterday in a really good way. As long as you have something that creates a little bit of emotional output and you can see the images of, you're good to go. Okay. So 10 memories, big or small, to support the new ideas. Step two. Step three, record it and listen back for 21 days. And when you listen back, you want to feel and see the images of this as much as possible. And what this does is it fires and wires new neural networks in a way that actually permeates and speaks to your subconscious mind where this problem exists. Now, if we go back to this idea of BTEA, because we know that thoughts and emotions and actions follow beliefs, okay? Again, that's not the only way we can have unmet needs that create emotions and actions. That's for another video. But because when we are really triggered, it's almost always rooted in our beliefs first. When we have this experience, okay, when we pluck the belief out at its root because we recondition this belief, we feed new information, new ideas, create new output, and we fire and wire it in, that's how we recondition these painful things that cause us to push people away, shut people down, feel extremely triggered and really uncomfortable in our body. When we change the belief, we change the thoughts, we change the emotions, we change the neurochemistry and experience that follows, and we change our actions. Because remember, neuroscience has proven every single decision we make is actually that action is actually based on the emotional output first.
If you're interested in helping make a huge impact on other people's lives while also building financial freedom, I'm offering an early bird 50% discount on our Integrated Attachment Theory Relationship Certification Program that will help you become a certified Integrated Attachment Theory relationship coach and build your own thriving practice by the end of 12 weeks. This 12-week on-demand program will help you kickstart your new career by teaching you revolutionary tools and strategies that help clients transform their lives and relationships. Build your own coaching practice and set yourself up for a waitlist of clients and financial success. Even if you have no coaching experience, this program will give you very in-depth tools, resources, and confidence to get started in a matter of weeks. And you can learn more information by clicking the link down below.
So this is a 3-step exercise. Okay. Find your core wound and its opposite, or core belief and its opposite, same thing. Find 10 pieces of memory to support the new idea. Okay. They can be tiny, they can be big. Number three, use that repetition for that 21-day period, because it shows that's where we really start to solidify those new neural networks. Okay. So this is something I really hope can help you. If you want to do a deeper dive, I have a course all about this at PDS with workbooks, worksheets, everything. We actually have 21 different tools to recondition your subconscious mind. I'll put a link to that course you can check out fully for free down below. But start with this today, and I would love to hear how it goes for you and what your results are like. Also, if you enjoyed this channel, thank you so much for stopping by. Please subscribe. Please come back and see me again soon. And thank you for watching.